explain.
You are connecting so many dots right now.
And this blew my mind too. This is why I wanted to talk about this, because I was like, yo, this is crazy. Now let's talk about two major industries in really the world, which are prostitution and porn. Okay, prostitution has been around in all societies for it's been like this is an age-old idea. It has existed.
I even heard about prostitution in the Roman Empire.
Yeah, no, it's been around, right? And prostitution, obviously, just selling sex is what it means, but it's catered towards men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Well, kind of going back to the economic type theory, if men are the ones that have basically this unlimited supply, then naturally they have more sexual partners, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want more sexual. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Because the more sexual partners they have, the more they reproduce. Remember, reproduction is key in evolution. So reproduction is king.
And this is it's important to highlight this, because when we're thinking of our ancestors, the very first humans, like
right.
Their minds are very simple. They're like, we need to survive and we need to reproduce.
An interesting note about primitive societies was that they actually had no idea that having sex was what made kids. And you think, like, wait, why would they not know that?
Yo,
they
did it, and then they would have kids.
But think about the amount of time in between when you have sex and when a child is born. It's 9 months. And a lot of times you don't even see the baby growing until a month or two in. And so when you think about older societies, and this is not all of them. A lot of them did know. We're just saying that some primitive societies, many of them actually, did not know that sex is what led to reproduction.
Yo, that is so
that's a crazy fact, right?
Guys, we need it. We might be taking pauses just for me to like really comprehend everything Ben is saying, because he's connecting dots in my brain that I was not ready to have connected. Like it is, and that's so facts. Is like when you think about it, and like people may have sexual intercourse or sex, whatever you want to call it, and like some people don't know they're even like they're on your period, or they don't even know if they're pregnant until they have like the period. So so us and like for our modern society, there's that short time of period where we know, like, okay, if you don't have your period by XYZ, but for them, they didn't know what period was.
Really, how would they know?
Nothing.
How would they know?
So one day, the person in your tribe that you did something with, it's cool. She's chilling. She's and then all of a sudden she got a fat stomach. And next, you just
next
like,
thing you know.
That is insane.
And so that's a really interesting fact. The really interesting part about that is that those societies, they had a lot of sex. They did. Like they didn't see sex. The point of me saying that is that sex was not it was not something they did for reproduction. They did it for pleasure, because sex is very, very pleasurable. Yeah. Like it is. Like that, it was made that way. Why? Because again, reproduction is king. Okay, so going back to just keep this. This is gonna play everything.
Yo,
reproduction is king.
He was not kidding when he said reproduction is king. Oh my, jeez.
So that's why it's pleasurable, because if that's the mode of how you reproduce, then it's very good for that to be pleasurable, because we'll have a lot of it.
So
right?
our body encoded like, yo, this is good, and it's good, so it means it's gonna like
exactly.
I'm gonna make this good so you guys can keep living on. You know?
Right, and so kind of going back to the prostitution and pornography. If, again, reproduction is king, if males have no effective limit on how many offspring they can have, then the males that are having a lot of offspring, right? Mm-hmm. If it's a numbers game, then who are within the population? If they're the ones having a lot of offspring, they're also passing down those traits to their offspring, right? And the majority of the population will be males who want to have a lot of offspring, right? Because those are the ones producing more offspring. So naturally, the population is skewed to have males who want to have a lot of sexual intercourse, a lot of offspring, and not only that, but they don't have a particular care for who it's with, right? Yeah. Males and a spectrum, and
some guys just don't have standards. We're gonna be honest.
Yeah, and that's
okay.
And because they have so much pleasure from it, right? Their goal is literally to reproduce as much as possible from an evolutionary basis. So going back to this idea of reproduction is king. So and so that explains a lot of why prostitution catered towards men exists, right? And you think about that and you're like, that makes so much sense.
Wait,
right?
So the prostitution part came from the idea that
so let me reel back a little bit.
because I got the point what you're saying that that the reason why like a lot of there's more men, like men naturally have this I guess tendency to want to have more sex and it's because
so
the
evolutionarily
people,
we've developed to have like males want to have as much sex as possible
because
right?
the people that we came from were the ones they're the ones that had the most kids and their kids follow some traits and it's all like a
so
big
they're passing down males who want to have as much
and their
sex
branch is
possible.
much bigger than the other ones. That's
and
crazy.
So now think about in terms of prostitution. Sorry, I just like had a brain fart real quick, honestly. Where was I?
Because I was just trying to ask, okay, so, and now you're saying like the thing what does this do with like the prostitution part and why is it catered towards men?
Right. So if men are having a large number of offspring, right, they don't really care about the female as much, particularly, and if they're doing it a lot, right, if you're having a new female every week, what do you probably care about most? Attractiveness, because that's and evolutionary speaking, you can get into a whole reason of beauty. Beauty is a sign of health, and it's a sign that a mate will be a good partner to reproduce with, which is why we naturally are attracted to people who are beautiful, because evolutionary speaking, our brains think that they're the best mates because they're the most healthy, right? So kind of going back to that idea, so men they want to have a large number of offspring, right? And they're also basing their sexual pleasures on attractiveness. Yeah. Okay. Coming from that, right? If men want to have a lot of sex and they care about what women look like, what do? They want to have they want to prostitution arises, right? Because they want to be with as many females as possible. They don't really care how it happens. They're not worried about who the female is, what a person. That's not only a factor a lot of times, right? And then also pornography. And a really interesting thing, they did an experiment with monkeys, and they basically what they did is they gave them two options. Okay, so monkeys love orange juice, like they love orange juice. Okay, and so what they did is they could go to a station and they could drink orange juice. So they couldn't pick it up; they had to like physically go and like drink the orange juice, right? Or on the other side, they could turn and they could watch like video, like basically a slideshow of pictures being played. And what they found, and the reason this is, they put the orange juice there is because if the monkeys are interested in the pictures and they're watching the pictures instead of drinking orange juice, that would suggest a very high level of interest, right, in the pictures. And so since monkeys love orange juice, if they're not interested in the pictures, they drink the orange juice. There are two types of pictures that monkeys were interested in, to the extent that they didn't drink the orange juice. The first one was the pictures of behinds of females.
Like human females or like
monkey females? Yeah, monkey females.
Yeah, no. I was like,
no.
They some dogs.
So they're interested in pictures of the behinds of female monkeys, and they were also interested in, this is interesting to me actually, dominant males. So the faces of dominant males, they were actually so interested in those pictures they wouldn't drink the orange juice either. And
dominant monkey males,
yes, like picture like ones like they saw them and they were like, oh, like that's my competition, right? And kind of following from that, what you see and humans, kind of like an analogy for that is I don't know much about magazines, but Playboy magazine and basically magazines, like what are two types of magazines men like a lot, I guess. One would be like dominant males, celebrities, sports icons, bodybuilders, big, like those are,
we're bros, lifting bros or sports. You related to like the masculine.
And then the other thing would be like sexual women, like just very
Playboy,
and all that type of stuff. So that's and what we see, the reason that's important in monkeys is because it's across basically all species of animals, right? And so that explains a lot of why men are interested in those types of things, and that's a personality thing, like that. It's a very interesting explanation, like, right? And so going off of that's pretty much the extent of how evolution can explain these personality differences. But isn't that like super interesting?
That's actually really, really interesting. That like, and I guess they look at these pictures of Well, actually, when I think about it from like human perspective, right now I'm the monkey. From the human perspective and connecting it to the monkey, like they view those, dominant males, and they're like, oh, that's my competition. They thinking maybe like that's who I gotta beat. How do I get there? Like then maybe that's why they're so intrigued. And like as males and as males themselves, and me being an athlete, and also seeing like when I do pay attention, like when LeBron steps up, and when Jordan steps up, when someone great, someone dumb as a male, or not just as a male, but as a person. But specifically, since we're talking in the context of males, they they're up on a stage. I pay attention, and it's because I'm trying to learn from them. I'm like, oh, that's where I want to get to. So it's like I had this thought too. That's I don't know if this can count as a profound thought, but it's like our the way we act is almost it's like how everything builds upon each other. They talk about like infrastructure. They just build and build and build, and like knowledge and science and math, they build upon each other. Our conscious, like our the way we are biologically, or I guess the way we function as a society is actually so simple. Like the whole part of like sex, and then we built upon like each of our our society, and like how we get to, I guess, define society and make these social constructs, and every contracts, these social contracts and everything. They just build upon this fundamental thing of like, we just want to have sex. And we want to have sex with people we think are obviously survive and attractive and stuff like that. And it's just crazy to see that like we're just building upon such basic human, I guess, instinctual things.
And one thing I kind of we kind of focused on the males, because that's kind of where a lot of in society, women are always like, men are pigs, like why are men like doing all, like why are they so into porn, like XXXX, whatever, and this is not like making excuses for whatever,
but just to kind of give like a biological scientific explanation,
just to give like women generally a biological explanation for why men generally focus on those things, and it is something that women will have a harder time understanding, because that is we literally evolved differently based on reproduction.
Us surviving as a human race has shaped us
exactly
to